I think there's been a major victory when it comes to Algorand. And the reason why is because supposedly Algorand is now available on Robinhood. So a new listing when it comes to this. Or should I say its native token called ALGO. Now, even though nothing I say is financial advice and even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, why is this impressive? Well, it's because not only is Algorand through Robinhood now available in every single US state, including New York, but furthermore, what this means is that now allegedly 27 million individuals could very well be more aware when it comes to this. It doesn't mean they all will care, but if we take a look at Robinhood, 27 million users allegedly, approximately, that's a pretty big milestone in my opinion when it comes to Algorand. It doesn't mean that, again, everyone's suddenly going to think it's awesome. No, it doesn't mean that. But better exposure, I don't see what's so bad about that. Let's take a look at even memes like Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, and stuff like that. Back in 2021, the listings that they had greatly helped them. Now, Algorand, of course, also had pretty decent listings back then, which also helped it, but it doesn't necessarily discredit, good listings and the impact that it has, because people like to say, wow, if there is a good listing, but the market isn't doing the best, that means the project sucks and all this. But I just don't agree with that. This type of stuff could matter later on. Let's try asking the people who were holding Dogecoin and Shiba Inu back then, or even Cardano, and its native token called ADA. A lot of people would probably say, you know what, the listings mattered a lot. The community also mattered a lot too. Don't get it, twisted, I suppose. It does matter, but the listings also mattered too. This is the thing. I will not be able to know what a project is if I don't even know it exists in the first place. So good listings do matter. Hiring a celebrity or an athlete, it's cool, but I think listings are just, at the end of the day, for me, a better advertising tool as opposed to hiring a random celebrity or an athlete, in my opinion, especially when it comes to a project within this space. The reason being is because if, let's say, Algorand hired Justin Bieber for whatever reason, I'm not saying it's even the case, it's just a pure hypothetical. If they did that, and Justin Bieber says, oh, Algorand is cool or whatever. I mean, he never said that to my understanding, but in a pure hypothetical, do you think that, the fan base of Justin, do you think they're going to care about Algorand? Maybe not, right? In some cases. I'm pretty sure some might be like, oh, what's that? But I don't know if suddenly 95 or 98% of the fan base will suddenly care about something like this. It's a bit of a different thing. I don't get why some other projects out there, they're so obsessed over hiring these celebrities and athletes, but it doesn't really translate well to the fundamentals of the project or even the exposure for the right sort of audience. It doesn't make sense to me. So I kind of don't get it at times. And again, I think even though a new listing may not seem that flashy, may not seem that cool, I actually think over the long haul, it helps the project a lot more. Now, the project still has to improve though. It doesn't mean that the listings will save it in and of itself. It still has to improve, but I'm saying that does greatly help. And a lot of people like to say it's about time that Algorand is on there. I agree. Algorand is one of the most massive layer 1 blockchains out there. Not the most popular, but it's still pretty decently massive. It has actually pretty decent fundamentals. Some people would arguably say like its scalability, its speed. We also take a look at the gas fees are not a complete issue. It's not, sky high basically. Very sustainable, some people would like to say. Not to mention, allegedly fully carbon neutral, which I think does play into its sort of advantage in a sense, because a lot of enterprises out there, a lot of large businesses, they often care about the environment. So I think this does matter when it comes to Algorand, and I think it is one of the unique advantages that it has in comparison to a lot of other projects out there that aren't maybe carbon neutral. But even besides that point, Algorand as well has an aspect of ISO 20022. So if we take a look at Algorand in its entirety, I don't know if it's so bad like what some people like to say, but that's just personally my perspective. And if I think about it as well, people like to say, wow, this recent Robinhood listing was a flop. They like to say that because their argument is the recovery has only been almost 2% in the past 24 hours. But I don't think that is my main focus anyways. My main focus isn't what could this do 2 hours from now, 20 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever. That's not my mindset anyways. My mindset is maybe years. So I'm not too obsessed about whatever happens in a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. That's not my style anyways. If I take a look at something in the case of Algorand, it may not showcase the results as of right now, but good listings, they could really matter if the market were to pick up. So it's kind of like building on the foundation first. It's kind of more of a slow paced type of thing in this case. It's like, for instance, let's say someone opened up a restaurant, a pizza restaurant in a certain town that hasn't really liked pizza yet. Now, when they first open this pizza restaurant in this hypothetical town, maybe it might not show anything instantly. Maybe there's not too many people eating there. But what happens once that pizza trend comes in? Because pizza is really good. I love pizza. So what happens if this hypothetical town starts caring about pizza? That pizza restaurant is primed, right? It's conditioned to catch that wave because it was there the entire time. I'm pretty sure in this make-believe scenario, other competitors might start to show up and try to enter and try to, build a pizza restaurant, but that's kind of too little too late. This one that existed before, they've already honed their skills. They already tried to perfect their recipe. They've already tried to, fix the system and whatnot. Other competitors that are entering, they're struggling. They're, frantically trying to figure out this and that while the trend is already there. As opposed to that pizza restaurant that was there the entire time is just much better. So I think good listings, especially when it comes to a market downturn and when the market isn't doing the best, that's when it matters the most because it builds the foundation, in my opinion. Also, when it comes to a project actually building, it's also the best when the market isn't doing the best because they're building on the foundation. So later, if the market were to pick up and a lot of developers want to start entering, it's already primed for that. But even besides that, ALGO as of right now, which again is Algorand's native token, it's basically almost 12 cents, which some people like to say, wow, that's really embarrassing. Well, okay. I mean, there are a couple ways to view this. I could either view this in a negative way or in a positive way. People like to say, well, how could it even be viewed as in a positive way? Well, let's take this into consideration. Back in January of last year, ALGO was around 46 cents. So it was almost 4 times higher than where it is currently. Case in point, is that necessarily a bad thing? Now, I don't know if it necessarily is because my intent is to dollar cost average. Now, if you ask some of these like very legendary people in the world of stocks, like for instance, Warren Buffett, try asking him if he prefers to dollar cost average when it's low or when it's high. I would arguably say that in some cases, he might say when it's low, because take a look at when Berkshire Hathaway acquired a lot of its stocks. It's typically when it's kind of low. However, does that mean that he's correct, like that mindset of dollar cost averaging when the market is kind of low? Is that always the correct decision? Now, I don't think that in every single decision he's made, he's been absolutely correct. I don't think that is the case. The reason why is because remember when a lot of people were exiting newspapers and saying it was cooked and whatnot? Warren Buffett, he like doubled down basically. He started believing in newspapers. And I think that's a clear case and mindset of like, oh, if things are low, that's sometimes a hypothetically awesome thing they like to say. That was a clear case of him, I guess, not reading the market properly because, clearly that didn't really work out too well, right? Believing in newspapers, come on. When it comes to Warren Buffett, especially at the time when a lot of people were exiting and not caring about it anymore. But if we have to take a look at it, generally speaking, like for instance, in the case of Apple stocks, Coca-Cola and stuff like that, it's generally not been such a bad idea that he cared about it when it was kind of relatively speaking low when compared to right now. So that's the thing. Maybe he didn't do too well with newspapers, but with Coca-Cola, with Apple and all that type of stuff, it's been pretty fantastic, I suppose. So yeah, when it comes to this, I actually don't mind it if the charts are low. Personally, I am still dollar cost averaging because, okay, if ALGO goes back to where it once was in January of 2025, people say, wow, that's almost a 4x, but that's so boring. However, I also like to ask myself this, Bitcoin going back to its all-time high, it's not even a 2x. So what, suddenly 4 times is considered boring because it's an altcoin? It doesn't make any sense to me. That type of movement is that type of movement at the end of the day. So I'm not going to find it boring when it comes to an altcoin, but then suddenly exciting if it's like from Bitcoin. No, I don't find it that way, but this is just my mindset. So I'm still waiting, but I don't have to. But I'm voluntarily choosing to do so because I like the project and I don't mind waiting. If I was so averse to waiting, if I was so like bothered by it, I wouldn't wait. But I am waiting. But I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. So hopefully you all stay tuned for that. I would greatly appreciate it. And I want to say thank you as well for watching this video. I greatly appreciate that as well. It's been Lee the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.